All right, good morning. We'll get started today on our mats in Baddha Konasana. So seated with the soles of the feet together, knees out wide, and you'll sit up tall so you can grab the ankles. I think the ankles is probably the easiest. If you want to go up a little higher, but see if you can grab the ankles. If the ankles aren't happening, then just take a strap and you can loop it underneath the soles of the feet and do it that way. But we want to keep the spine upright. We're not going to lean forward. Close the eyes, keep the chest open, and hug the belly in a little bit so that helps you sit up a little bit taller. And as you bring the femur bones, those thigh bones in toward the hips, you'll feel the knees release a little closer to the mat. Maybe not even enough that you can see it, but maybe enough that you can feel it. And start to take a deep breath in through the nose, back out through the nose. Deep breath in. Back out through the nose. Keep going with this Ujjayi breath. You're already in the pose, just focus on the breath. Maybe sitting up a little taller, feeling a deeper release in the hips. Making sure there's some texture to the breath, one that you can hear. And hopefully hang on to for the rest of your practice. Start to blink open the eyes. Use the hands to bring the knees back together. You can bring the soles of the feet to the mat, reach the arms forward, palms facing up, and you'll start to lean back, but keep the feet on the mat. You're just leaning back enough to where you feel the core start to turn on. And then see if you can lift the chest up a little bit more, look up. So the legs are turned on, really the whole body's turned on, but we really want to make sure the entire core is turned on at the same time. You can start to walk the feet together so they're touching, squeezing the inner thighs together. Stay looking up. See if you can float the feet up, coming into Navasana. And we want to keep some energy into the feet so you can spread the toes. That helps keep them active instead of heavy, so you're not dealing with dead weight while you're in boat pose. Maybe you lean back a little bit more, but really we're just going for a long spine more than anything else. The body will try to make this a little bit easier by rounding the spine or starting to bring the chest closer to the knees. And you're still breathing the same way we did at the beginning with our Ujjayi breath. You're reaching forward with the hands and leaning back. And then we'll take this to Ardha Navasana. So you'll hover the heels down above the mat, shoulders above the mat. Interlace the fingers back behind the head. Lift the right leg up. So you have an L shape with the legs. So that right foot's over the right hip. You're pressing out through the left heel, both heels really. Twist to the right. So the legs are in that L shape. Come back to center, switch the legs. Left leg comes up, right leg goes down, twist to the left. And then you'll keep going side to side. Keep it a slow pace. You'll switch side to side with the legs. You'll twist side to side with the arms. But it's really about trying to keep the shoulder blades up and away from the mat. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you're not trying to reach that opposite elbow to the opposite leg. Just keep the elbows wide and the chest open. Sometimes we get so hung up on these goals of trying to get the elbow closer to the leg, and you're really compromising form. When that happens, all you're trying to do is heat up the core and get that working for you early in your practice so that you can engage it easier later on. Let's do one more each side. ending on the left leg up. Then you'll bring both legs back up, reach the arms forward, chest is still lifted, shoulder blades lifted, hover the heels down in front of the mat, and then you'll take it back to boat pose, Navasana. So hug the core in, reach the heart up, keep reaching the fingertips forward, set the feet down onto the mat. You can just rest the hands on the knees, sitting up nice and tall. And then cross the legs. You're coming to an easy cross-legged seat. Doesn't matter which shin is in front. We'll do some Sufi rolls. So hanging onto the knees, you'll circle, bringing the chest over the right knee, then the left knee. And on the exhale, you come back. So go right knee, left knee on the inhale, exhale, bring it back. Keep going in this direction. You make the circles as big as you want or as small as you want. So if anything's not feeling good, make the circle smaller and wait until you feel like you can make them bigger. Moving with the breath. And the next time you end up over the left knee, pause there, switch sides, go or switch directions, go the other way with the circles. Slowly start to make your way back up to center, coming back to seated. Once you get to seated, reach the arms all the way up and fold forward, coming into a hip opening. And if it feels like the fingertips are just barely touching the mat, you're getting enough of a hip stretch here, stay there. If you feel like you need to walk more forward, you can walk more forward. Just close the eyes, listen to your own body. Come into a place where you start to feel a deeper release in the hips. And then using the sound of the breath to help you calm and stay steady in your practice. You'll start to walk the hands back in, bring the hands back behind you, switch the crossing of the legs, other shin in front. Shift side to side on the hips until you feel even. On an inhale, reach the arms up, fold forward this side. Find your hip opening here. Bring the hands back in, back behind you, extend the legs out in front of you, bring both feet over to one side, and you'll come to tabletop, all fours. And once you get to tabletop, bring the knees and the feet all the way together so the thighs are touching. Tuck the toes, and you'll start to walk the hands back, coming to seated on the heels. And if this is too much, grab a block, give yourself some height. So you could put a block between the feet and sit up a little bit higher on the block. And if the feet just aren't having it, you can come to the tops of the feet. But if you're okay with the foot stretch, make sure the fourth and fifth toe on each foot are pointing straight forward. As you sit back onto the heels, you hug the belly in, sit up a little bit taller, and then take this left hand. You're just going to flex it like it's out in front of you, like you're pushing something away. Bend at the elbow, and you'll take the right hand and all the way over to the pinky. So just the pinky. We're getting into the hands and wrists, and we're going to open that up while we're opening up the feet. So as you grab onto the pinky, you're just gently putting some weight on the pinky, bringing it back toward the forearm. any amount that feels okay. And then you'll go to the ring finger on the left hand. So I'm using 2 to 3 fingers on my right hand. That seems to feel good, but you adjust the way that you think feels good for your body. Then the middle finger. Make sure you're still breathing. Index. Just the thumb. And the thumb might be able to take a little bit more weight, especially if this is a texting hand. And then we'll switch hands. So you'll move over to the right hand, starting with the pinky. Then the ring finger. Middle finger. Index. Thumb. Then interlace the fingers like you're going to sit down in front of a table, and then you'll just move the wrists around. So just circle them around with the fingers interlace. And then notice if you've been going in one direction, switch directions, which for me is really difficult. Maybe it is for you. Then let that go. You can shake out the wrists, bring the hands down to the mat, tap the tops of the feet. Those toes have been tucked underneath you for quite a while. Good work. And then keeping the feet and the knees all the way together, tops of the feet down on the mat. You're taking child's pose this way. So you'll bring the hips back toward the heels. You'll walk the hands forward. Forehead comes down to the mat. And it'll help as you bring the hips down toward the heels. You're putting some weight on the legs with the knees and the feet all the way together, which will hopefully help the feet feel a bit of a release after that toe tuck. And you'll stretch the arms forward, crawling those fingertips as far forward as you can, keeping the arms straight, pressing down into the hands, lifting the forearms away from the mat. Then look forward at the hands, downward facing dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back, bring the heels down toward the mat. You could have a bend in the legs. You can pedal the feet side to side. Unless it just feels good to come straight into stillness, that's fine too. So widen the stance of the feet. Go way wider than hip width distance, maybe closer to the edges of the mat. Start to walk the hands back toward the feet, and you'll clasp opposite elbows in front of you. So feet are pretty wide, wider than hip width distance, giving yourself a little bit more space for the legs, lower back. Let the head and the neck go. You can even nod it yes and no a few times. That always helps release the neck, even when we think it's not working. And then we realize, oh, it was probably exerting more effort than it should have been. And then switch the clasp with the elbows, other forearm in front. Rock the weight a little bit more forward into the balls of the feet rather than the heels. Bring the hands down in front of the shoulders. Keep the feet wide. Just walk forward back to that downward facing dog. See if you can keep the heels down on the mat. Then glide forward to plank pose. Stack the shoulders over the wrists. Feet are still wide. Bring both heels over to the left. Reach the right arm up. So you're coming into a side plank, but the right foot's staggered in front of the left foot. Scissor those inner thighs. Reach the heart forward. Point the tailbone back toward the heels. And then lift that top hip up so you're finding an arc in the whole left side of the body. Right arm can reach up and over the head. Right hand comes down to the mat, back to that wide plank with the feet, right over to the other side. So both heels come over to the right, left arm reaches up, scissor the inner thighs, lift the hips up high. Keep reaching the heart forward. Tailbone goes back toward the heels. And then reach the left arm up and over the ear. Get a little bit longer. Left hand back down to the mat. Downward facing dog. Regular stance with the feet. So you want to bring the feet back to hip width distance apart. See if the heels can come down closer to the mat. So you're getting some length in the backs of the legs. So the heels go down toward the mat and the hips lift up, and you'll feel that stretch in the hamstring, the calves, those hamstrings, the backs of the thighs. You're trying to broaden them. So think about widening them. And then glide forward to plank pose. Lower down halfway chaturanga, all the way down to the mat, tops of the feet touch down. Inhale up for cobra, just a little one. We haven't done too much back bending really at all. Point the tailbone back, open up across the chest, then exhale, release. 2 more. Inhale up. Exhale, let that go. Last one. Inhale up. Hands are light, but chest is still lifted. Exhale, release. Tuck the toes, fire up the legs, fire up the core. You'll feel the tailbone shift back toward the heels. Hug those outer elbows in. Push yourself back up to plank pose in one line, then downward facing dog. Couple of breaths here. Adho Mukha Svanasana. And bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, bring the feet up between the hands, take your time. Forward fold, top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. 2 more. Inhale up halfway. Hug the belly in, reach the heart forward. Exhale, fold back down over the legs. Last one. Inhale up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, forward fold all the way up this time. Circle the arms on the inhale. Bring the palms together overhead and down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, left foot steps back behind you. Set that back knee down, untuck the toes, reach the arms up, coming into a low lunge. Dig into that right heel, reaching the arms up. And then we'll interlace the fingers behind the back, opening up across the chest, the shoulders, stretching the knuckles back behind you. Lifting that left frontal hip point up. So you feel more length in the quad, hip flexor. Bring the hands back down to the mat. Tuck the back toes. Lift the back knee. Step that left foot forward to meet the right foot. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Bring the hands together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, right foot steps back, set that back knee down, untuck the toes, reach the arms forward and all the way up. So here, get your length. Moving the rib cage up away from the hips. So hips go down, rib cage goes up, fingertips go up. Dig into that left heel so you feel nice and stable. And then start to reach the arms back behind you, interlacing the fingers, one finger over, open up across the chest, the shoulders. So shoulders go away from the ears instead of crawling up toward the ears. Lift that right frontal hip point up. Hands come back down to the mat in front of you. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, step that right foot forward to meet the left foot. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up to standing. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, circle the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, bring the hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Lower all the way down to the mat slowly. Cobra on the inhale. Exhale, release. Tuck the toes, fire up the legs. Knees can be up or down. Take plank pose. Downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, step, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Bring the hands together overhead, down in front of the heart. So coming into our Surya A's, if you're dealing with an injury that's making it difficult to go through the vinyasas, please modify them or skip them altogether. Inhale, circle the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway chaturanga, cobra, or upward facing dog. Only if you feel ready for it and it's in your practice today. Hug the belly in wherever you are. Take it back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, lightly bring the feet forward. Step, hop, walk. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Bring the hands together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway chaturanga, cobra, up dog on the inhale. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Bring the palms together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, circle the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, hands down, bend the knees, step back to plank pose, lower down with control, chaturanga. Inhale up, cobra or up dog. Back to down dog. Lift the right leg up and back, three-legged down dog. Bring the knee to the nose. Step that right foot through up between the hands. Coming into a runner's lunge. So reach the heart forward, stretch that left heel back. Then bring the right hand inside of the right foot. Walk the hands over to the left. So you're facing the side of the mat. Toes point forward or a little bit in. Walk the hands over to the left leg. So maybe they touch, maybe they don't. Try not to take the right hip with you. You'll feel a nice opening in the right leg. Then bring the hands in front of the shoulders, coming up onto the fingertips, lifting the chest halfway. Start to put a bend in the knees, float the hands to the hips, press yourself up to standing, keeping the wide legs. Good. Angle in the left toes, turn the right toes all the way out. Warrior two, facing the top of the mat. So that right knee is going more toward the pinky toe side of the foot. And then the chest is going more toward the side of the mat. And that's where the hip opening comes into play. So you keep working that right knee to the right and the chest over toward the side of the mat. And then you dig down through that front heel and the outer edge of the back foot. So that back leg is straight. Head is right over the hip. So the tendency is to lean forward. Reach back with that left arm. It'll help you open the chest and keep the head over the hips. Make sure you're breathing. Press down in the hands a little bit so you get some space in the neck and the shoulders release. Then bring the right forearm to the right thigh. Lift the left arm up and over. Extended side angle. So you're opening up the chest. You're keeping that right knee from caving in, still moving it toward the pinky toe side of the foot. Digging into that right heel, outer edge of the back foot. Bring the hands down to the mat, back to your lunge. Set the back knee down, untuck the toes, reach the arms up. So back to this low lunge. Interlace the fingers behind the back, open up across the chest. Hands come back down to the mat, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. So you're back in this runner's lunge, straighten the front leg. So you're just folding over the front leg. You're high on the ball of the back foot. Let the head and the neck go. Inhale forward to a lunge, plant the hands, step back to downward facing dog. Stay in downward facing dog. If you want a vinyasa, glide forward to plank pose, roll through using the breath to guide you. From downward facing dog, lift the left leg up and back. Make sure you have some energy in that left foot, like you're pushing something away from you. Bring the knee in toward the nose. Step that left foot all the way through to the top of the mat. Start with the runner's lunge. Look forward, reach the heart forward, stretch that right heel back. Left hand inside of the left foot. Walk the hands over to the right. Turn the toes to face the side of the mat. Toes in or forward, but not out. Walk the hands over to the right leg. And then notice how that left hip wants to come with you. Can you square it forward? And then lengthen the spine. Hands back underneath the shoulders, come up onto the fingertips, lifting up the chest halfway. Start to put a little bend in the knees, hands to the hips, come up to standing, angle in the right toes, turn the left toes out, warrior two. Left knee goes out toward the pinky toe side of the foot. Reach back with that right arm, bringing the chest toward the side of the mat. And then lengthen the tail a little bit so you'll feel the lower belly engage. Lengthen the top of the head up and the shoulders down so that the neck has plenty of space. Energy into the outer edge of the back foot, the right foot, and that left heel. Left forearm, left thigh, reach the right arm up and over. Extended side angle, Parsvakonasana. So with your extended side angle, that right palm, the lifted hand, it should be pointing behind you. That's a nice rotation for the shoulder and maximizes the space there. So pinky side of the hand is down on the lifted arm, the right arm. Thumb up. Hands come down to the mat. You're back in your runner's lunge. You'll probably need to widen the feet a little bit. Set that back knee down, untuck the toes, reaching the arms up. Interlacing the fingers behind the back, one finger over, so the way that doesn't feel as natural. Hands come back down to the mat. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, straighten the front leg. So the hands can walk back to make this a little bit more accessible, especially if the legs are tight. You can just fold over the front leg. If you want more, walk the hands forward. That makes it more intense. So find where that feel good stretches. You're not going all the way to your edge. You're just looking to get that the left leg open. And always a place where you can breathe. Then inhale forward to your lunge, plant the hands, step back to downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Stay here or take a vinyasa, glide forward to plank pose, lower down halfway with control. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back to dog. Bend the knees, look forward, feet forward, step, walk, hop, be light with the feet. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, come into Utkatasana chair pose, reaching the arms up. In this chair pose, look down at the feet, make sure you can see all 10 toes, shift the hips and the knees back if you can't. Start to shift the weight over to the right foot, hover the left foot away from the mat and cross the left ankle on top of the right thigh. You can bring the hands together in front of you, right in front of the heart, and that'll help you focus on the hips. You want to square the hips forward. That right hip wants to swing out to the side. Left foot is flexed. Keep reaching the chest forward. And if that right knee underneath you is caving in, try to get that integrity back, pointing it straight over the second and third toe. A lot of work here. Then hug that left knee in toward the chest. You'll have to lift yourself up a little bit. Step back to that lunge. So reach back with that left foot. Hands can come down to the mat. Feet are hip width distance apart. Reach the heart forward. Stretch that left heel back. Right hand inside of the right foot. Walk the hands over to the left. Point the toes forward or maybe a little bit in. Then walk the hands over to the left leg. Hands come back to center, up on your fingertips so you can lift the chest, bending the knees, bring the hands to the hips, press yourself up to standing. Left toes angle in, right toes out. Warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. Right forearm, right thigh, reach the left arm up and over. Open the chest up toward the sky. Keep that right knee from caving in. Breathe. Hands down to the mat. You're coming onto the ball of the back foot. Widen the feet a little bit. Set that back knee down. Untuck the toes, reaching the arms up. Low lunge. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Open up across the chest, the shoulders. Hands come down to the mat. Tuck the back toes. Lift the back knee. Standing splits. Shift the weight forward to that right foot. Lift the left leg up from the inner thigh. Left leg lifts up from the inner thigh. And then square the hips here. So even here, that right hip wants to swing out to the side. Can you bring it so that it's right over the ankle? Toes point straight forward on the right foot. Let the head and the neck go. Maybe that left foot lifts up a little bit higher, only from the inner thigh. Then left foot next to the right foot, forward fold. In this forward fold, widen the feet back to wider than hip width distance apart, like we did at the beginning, and clasp opposite elbows. Let the head and the neck go. If you don't have any lower back stuff, you could sway side to side, but if your lower back has been tender or if it is right now, skip it, just hold still. Hands come back down to the mat, heel toe the feet back to hip width. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Chair pose on the inhale. Shift the knees, the hips back. Look down at the feet. Start to shift the weight over to the left foot, right ankle, left thigh. Hands come together right in front of the heart. So it's just like thread the needle, a lot more effort because you're standing on one leg, but keep reaching the heart forward, right foot's flex. Try to square the hip so that left hip isn't swinging out to the side. Core is hugging in to help you lengthen the spine. And you're breathing. And getting a deep hip opening on that right side. Right knee comes in toward the chest. Keep activity in the right foot as you step back to a lunge. Reach back with the ball of the right foot. Hands come down to the mat on either side of the front foot. Left hand inside of the left foot. Walk the hands over to the right. Straighten the legs, toes forward or maybe a little bit in. Walk the hands over to the right leg. Hands back underneath the shoulders, lift yourself up halfway, put a bend in the knees, hands to the hips, rise up to standing, right toes angle in, left toes angle out, warrior two. So that right hip, the back hip, it's sending the left hip forward. Reach back with that right arm, open the chest. Keep all of this, left forearm, left thigh, right arm up and over the ear, rooting down through that outer right foot to reach up and over with the right arm. Hands come down to the mat, onto the ball of the back foot, widen the feet a little bit, set that back knee down, untuck the toes, reach the arms up, low lunge. Arms back behind you, switch the interlacing of the fingers, going to the unnatural way, open up across the chest, point the knuckles back. Hands come down to the mat, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, standing splits. Shift the weight forward to the left foot, reach the right leg as you fold over the left leg. And then where is that left hip? Try to get it right over the left ankle. Keep both inner thighs engaged. Getting as much length as you can in the legs. Right foot next to the left foot. Widen the feet a little wider than hip width distance. Clasp opposite elbows the other way. Let the head and the neck go. Hands back down to the mat. Heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. On an inhale, come up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. All the way up on the inhale, circle the arms, bring the hands together overhead, down in front of the heart. Stay here, close the eyes, couple breaths. We've been forward folding a lot. Collect yourself. And we'll roll through that one more time a little bit faster. Blink open the eyes. On an inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. We're coming back into chair pose. Bend the knees, reach the arms up. Utkatasana. Look down at the feet, can shift the knees back, move the weight over to the right foot, cross the left ankle on top of the right thigh. Hands come together in front of the heart. Focus on the legs, lengthen the spine, keep hugging the core in. Left foot is flexed. Square the hips as best you can. Then hug that left knee in toward the chest. Step that left foot way back to your lunge. Hands come down to the mat. Feet are hip width distance apart. Right hand inside the right foot. Walk it all the way over to the left. Then keep going. Once you have the toes forward or in, walk the hands over to the left leg. Hands underneath the shoulders, lift the chest up halfway, bend the knees, hands to the hips, rise up to standing, right toes turn out, warrior two. Right forearm, right thigh, left arm up and over. If you feel like the hip's pretty open and you want to bring that right arm down outside the foot, maybe on a block, that's an option too. Left hand to the mat, well, both hands to the mat. Separate the feet hip width, set that back knee down, untuck the toes, reach the arms all the way up. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Hands come back down to the mat. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, look forward, standing splits. Shift the weight forward, lift that left leg up, fold over the right. Try to bring that right hip right over the ankle. Left foot next to the right foot. Take a little bit wider of a stance. Clasp opposite elbows. Let yourself be heavy here, especially the head, neck. Then bring the hands back down in front of you. Heel toe the feet back to hip width. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Utkatasana chair pose. Bend the knees, reach the arms up. Look down at the feet, shift the hips and the knees back. Bring that right ankle on top of the left thigh. Take your time. Hands come together in front of the heart. Keep lengthening the spine as you sit the hips back. Belly hugs in. Right knee comes in toward the chest. Step that right foot way back to a lunge. Fingertips come down to the mat. Left hand inside of the left foot. Walk it over to the right. Turn the toes to point forward. Keep walking the hands over to the right leg. Square the hips. Try not to take the left hip with you. Hips over the heels. Hands back in front of the shoulders, lifting up halfway. Put a bend in the knees, hands to the hips, press up to standing. Right toes angle in, left out, warrior two. Left forearm, left thigh, right arm up and over, Parsvakonasana, extended side angle, or left hand outside of the foot, maybe on a block. Hands to the mat, come onto the ball of the back foot, widen the feet hip width, set that back knee down, untuck the toes, reach the arms up. Interlacing the fingers behind the back the other way, one index finger over. Stretch the arms, open up across the chest, the shoulders. Then bring the hands back down to the mat. Tuck the back toes. Lift the back knee, looking forward, standing splits. Right inner thigh helps you lift that right leg up. Make sure there's activity in that right foot so it's not dead weight. And then get that left hip over the left ankle as best as you can. Little bend in the standing leg is fine here too. That helps. Right foot next to the left foot, heel toe the feet a little bit wider. It's that wide-legged forward fold. Clasp opposite elbows, the other way. Hands to the mat, heel toe the feet back to hip width. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold all the way up on the inhale. Bring the palms together overhead, down in front of the heart. Stay here for a breath or two. Close the eyes. Stand tall. Chest nice and proud. Shoulders down the back. Then blink open the eyes. Circle the arms all the way up. Hands come together. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, bend the knees, step back to plank pose. Last vinyasa if you want it, otherwise go straight back to downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, take child's pose. You could either do the one that we started with the knees and the feet all the way together and sit the hips back. If you prefer, you can bring the big toes together, the knees apart, and sit the hips back. See which one feels better. Rest the forehead down onto the mat and either keep the arms out in front of you or give your shoulders a break and walk the hands back behind you. The backs of the hands just rest heavy on the mat on either side of the feet. You'll rise up to kneeling, turn the hips or turn the feet to one side, come to seated on the mat. Scoot yourself forward. If you have a block might be nice for a supported bridge. You would just set it next to the hips. Lie down onto your back, walk the feet in until they're right underneath the knees, and then lift the hips up. You can either grab the outer edges of the mat like you're going to bring the shoulder blades underneath you and rip them out apart, or you could interlace the fingers underneath you, which we've done a lot this practice, so maybe a little bit more comfortable if it's not usually. And you can take the block and slide it underneath the sacrum or the hips for a little bit more support. Just don't lose the back bend. So you want to keep hugging the belly in, pressing down into the legs. You may need to adjust the height of the block to make that work happen a little easier. If your body wants to go higher in the back bend and the block isn't allowing you to, then it's easy to just relax and let everything go. And if you're not using the blocks, start to bring yourself back down to the mat. If you're on a block, you just stay right there, breathing into the back bend, continuing the work. Take another breath if you're on your mat. And then when you're ready, press into the feet, lift the hips up, come back to bridge pose. You, with or without the block, you choose. Just know if you use the block, then stay there for the next round. Tailbone points up between the knees, tone the belly, lengthen the thighs away from you. If you don't have a block underneath you, slowly start to bring the hips back down to the mat. If you have a block, stay there, breathe. Back up if you're doing an active bridge. And if you want to take Urdhva Dhanurasana, that's in your practice, upward facing bow, and you feel really open and ready for that, you're welcome to go deeper. Otherwise, stick with bridge, supported bridge. Lengthen the breath, inhales and exhales, still breathing in and out through the nose, up and down the back of the throat. One more inhale wherever you are. Lift the hips up. If you have the block underneath you, set it off to the side. We'll all bring the hips down to the mat. And then you'll roll over onto one side. Use the hands to bring yourself up to seated. Extend the legs out in front of you and start to bring this right foot in. Cross the right foot over the left leg. So you can stay just like this You might be able to bend the bottom leg. If it's too much, skip it. You can just extend it back out. If it feels okay, keep the bottom leg in. We'll bring that right hand back behind us, sitting up tall. You can wrap the left arm around the bent leg, or you can hook the elbow. Just make sure you get a lot of length on the inhale and twist on the exhale. Draw the shoulders away from the ears. Gently gaze in the direction that you're twisting in. Then bring the gaze back forward. Slowly extend that bottom leg. If it's bent, then the right leg, and we'll switch sides. Left foot comes in, and you can always leave the left foot here. You can cross it for a deeper hip opening, and you can bend that bottom leg. So see what's happening on this side. If it's not the same, just bend and extend that bottom leg, and you can skip that part. Start to revolve the chest open toward the left fingertips behind you so they help support you. You can wrap the right arm around the bent leg or hook the elbow. Just be mindful of where the twist is coming from. We don't want it to come from the right arm pressing into the left leg. We want it to come from the core. So think about all the muscles around the spine, around the abdomen, around the torso. That's what's helping you twist and sit up tall at the same time. Gaze in the direction that you're twisting in, breathe. Gaze slowly starts to come back forward, unwind the torso, extend that bottom leg if it's bent, then the top leg. And we'll come back into that hip opening that we started with. So Sukhasana, easy cross-legged seat, whichever shin is in front. You can stay just like this. If you feel like you want to play with double pigeon, you could take this front foot and bring it on top of the knee. And you want the knees and the ankles to be stacked. So it's called fire log. And that would probably mean moving the feet away from you a little bit. Really important to have the feet flexed. So if that doesn't work, then just take the foot and bring it back down onto the mat. If it works, keep it there. Reach the arms all the way up. Bring the hands down in front of you. Option to bring the hands back behind you too, if this is already getting really difficult. Otherwise, start to fold your way forward. If you have blocks, it's always nice to build a little fort with the blocks to rest the forehead down on something, especially if the forehead doesn't come all the way down. And then breathe. Slowly start to bring yourself back up. If you have the blocks in front of you, just set them off to the side. Lean back. If that front foot's on top of the knee, just gently set it down. Bring the feet out wide to the outer edges of the mat and move the knees side to side. So that was a longer hold. We'll release the hips a little bit before we switch sides. Then you'll come back to seated, cross the legs the other way. So the opposite shin in front, shift side to side so you feel even on the legs. Maybe you play with bringing this front foot on top of the knee, seeing if that helps. You get deeper into the pose. If it takes away, then skip it and bring that front foot down. Sit up tall, inhale, reach the arms up, and come forward if there's space to come forward. Otherwise, hands back behind you and you sit up tall, close the eyes. We're all breathing into this. Lift the head, set the blocks off to the side if you're using them, walk the hands back in, move that top foot if it's lifted, bring the hands back behind you, feet wide to the outer edges of the mat, knees side to side. And then come back up to seated with the legs extended out in front of you, reaching the arms all the way up. Fold forward, Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. Let the hands rest down on something. So that's probably the mat on either side of the legs. If the feet are right there, you can grab the feet, but make sure you're not having to stretch the arms straight to grab the feet. You want a little bend there so you're not reaching too far. And then if there's a lot of room, you could put a block behind the feet to extend that reach a little bit more. But again, keep the arms with a little bit of a bend if you're taking either one of those options. Otherwise, hands on the mat, just fold forward. Let the head and the neck go. And inhale yourself all the way back up to seated, either taking a seated meditation or lying all the way down onto your back for Shavasana. Get yourself comfortable with whatever you decide to do. If you are taking Shavasana and you have something to cover the eyes, that's always a really nice way to come straight into it. So coming into stillness, but what's nice about this part of your Shavasana is you can still feel the practice in your body. So enjoy those sensations. And slowly start to deepen the breath. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. You can even start to move the feet side to side, waking up the legs. And then stretch the arms overhead, getting really long. Walk the feet in, bend the legs, roll over onto your right side, cradle the head and the arm. Take a deeper breath in through the nose, back out through the mouth. Using the hands, press yourself up to an easy cross-legged seat, finding all that length in the spine. Eyes stay closed. Bring the hands together in front of you. Right side of the body meets the left side of the body. Bowing the head while you maintain the lift of the chest to honor and acknowledge your heart and spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thanks for joining today, live or recorded. Hope you're feeling good. Those hips feel open. That was definitely a full body flow. Enjoy the rest of your day.